Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this a pretty blanket. Look at this now. All it's made up of are these granny squares, a solid granny square, and the way you sew them together, it keeps the formation going of these little spaces where your corners are. These are the granny squares here and that's its corners. And those holes just match up with the next square. And you get this lovely diamond pattern. I'll turn it that way as well. So it doesn't make a difference, doesn't make any difference what way that you put it. And it just keeps this beautiful pattern. I've used 12 squares. I've used 12 squares. And each square is about 8 by 8 inches. And I've used 12. You can use as many as you like. You can use any yarn you like for this. I'll show you how to sew them together to keep that really pretty triangle pattern running through your blanket when you sew them up. I'll show you how to sew it as well. I'll show you how to put a very simple edge on. I've just done 2 rows of UK treble crochets. And I'm sitting at my sister Sandra's and I'm right in front of a very large window, and that's why it's a little bright. She's made me this little desk, a little makeshift work area, and I've got a little camera up here. I want to show you what she made. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. I want to show you what she made me. Look, she's made me these. Now, where Sandra lives, there is beaches all the way around the coastline. And she goes to the beaches, and my daughter does this as well. They go around the beaches and they collect what's called sea glass. If you hold it up to the light, look how pretty that is through there. Now what sea glass is, it's just really old bottles. Look at this one, it looks like a little heart. As I'll put those ones down aside there, as you just get the little hook, just like they've got on other stitch markers. Now these are the first ones that she's actually made, and then you just hook it on to your stitch so it marks your place. Look at that, it's really pretty, and they're not too heavy either. I mean, even though it's little chunks of glass. Now what sea glass is, it could be really old Victorian or maybe about 50 years or so where people have thrown bottles into the sea, or it's been dumped away out to sea and washed in, and all the sand and the gravel in the sea just soften all the edges, and it comes up like this. I'll get a green piece, and look at the light shining through it. Now you get green, you get white, you get red glass sometimes, blue glass, but most common is this sort of white and maybe like the green. But it's really pretty, look at that. They make beautiful little stitch markers. So I'll take that back off my blanket. There we go. So today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful little blanket anyway. And I'll tell you what yarn this is. This is beautiful yarn. I can't remember, I don't have a label, but I've got another ball of it. So I'll show you that in a second. So just hang around, watch the video, have yourself a cup of coffee, or get your yarn, your hook, use the hook size it tells you on the yarn, and crochet along, because this is a row by row video, and there's only 5 rows. It's only 5 rows to this granny square, and I'm going to show you how to do it. You can make as many as you like, and once again I've made 12 and mine are 8 by 8. That's what the size mine came out. Depends on your tension. Your squares might be just a little shade smaller or a little shade bigger if you have a more loose tension than I have. So let's go on and I'll show you how to do this really beautiful, pretty blanket. So I'm going to show you how to do this really pretty granny square. Make them any colour you like. You can make them from the one ball of yarn. And the little blanket that I did 12 squares, and 1 ball of yarn was enough for 12 squares, and I had a little bit left. I think I could have got 14 squares out of it. So we'll show you how to do that. I'm using a UK size 4mm crochet hook. This is a UK size 4mm. I'm using this yarn. This is called papataya. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. It's made in Turkey, but you can get it all over the country. You get it all over the UK, and you can get it all over the USA as well. The colour number for this one is 55409, and if you just type that name into Google, this is 100 grams. And one of these will make between 12 and 14 squares, depends on your tension. I got 12 squares done with one ball and still had enough left to do maybe one or two more on it. So I'm going to show you how to do this really pretty granny square. So we're going to start with a magic circle. Just put your yarn down your hand like that, the tail end on the top. Wrap your yarn around your fingers. Then turn your hand around and put your hook through that loop. And then pull that yarn through that loop. Let it all go. Catch your working yarn and just pull it up. Now we're going to start with 5 stitches. We're going to crochet 5 chains. These 5 chains will be your treble crochet and 2 chains. So this first one, we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now those 5 chains are your first treble crochet and chain 2. Now into your circle you're going to put 3 UK treble crochets. So yarn over and into your circle you're going to do 3 UK treble crochets. If you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So you've got your little cluster of 3. You're going to chain 2, 1, 2, into the chain, into the space again, you'll do another set of 3 treble crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1, 2. Another 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now when you did that chain of 5, that is the stitch that belongs to this last cluster. So pull your little slip knot, your little magic circle in a bit. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now into there you're going to put 2 treble crochets, 1 and 2. Now pull your magic circle tight, pull it tight in, and as you can see it's brought that stitch around here for you. You're going to do a slip stitch into the 3rd stitch in the chain. So count 1, 2 and 3 and into that 3rd stitch, slip stitch and join. And what you've made is the centre part of your little granny square. That's this part here. That's what we've done. Doesn't quite look like it, but it will once we've got it sorted. So these are your 4 corners. These chain 2 spaces are your 4 corners. Now what you're going to do now is, so that we're always starting inside this chain space, pull your stitch up just a little bit. Pull your stitch up. And you're going to slip stitch into that chain space. slip stitch into there. Now it brings you over into the corner and it keeps your corners nice. It keeps all your corners nice. As you can see, you can't actually see, there's no dodgy chain going up the middle of your granny square. There's no dodgy chain anywhere in it. It keeps all your corners nice and neat. So we're going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That is the last stitch of the round. When we come back around here, we'll slip stitch just like we did down here. So into this chain space here, you're going to do 2 treble crochets. 1 and 2. Now, right in there, you're going into that little space there. You're going to do a treble crochet. You've got to go in there to keep your stitch count correct. So into there. So don't count that one. We've got 3 stitches. So 1 treble crochet into the next stitch. That's 4. 1 treble crochet into the next stitch. That's 5. And put 2 into this corner. 1 and 2. You're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now that gives you your first side of your square. Now you can see what I mean by that being the last stitch. Once we go all the way around, we'll slip stitch to that chain and that will make that last side. So we started here with 3 stitches. Now you should have 7. Don't count that one. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So you've got 2 in that corner and we've done our 2 chain. So we're going to put another 2 in here. So your corners will always have 2 treble crochet, 2 chain and 2 treble crochets. So you're going to go into that next stitch. Make sure you go in to that space that's there. So yarn over and in to that space at the top of that post. 1 into the next stitch. 1 into the next stitch. And 2 into the corner. 2 treble crochets. 1 and 2. So that's your first corner done. And you should have 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So you're going to chain 2. And into the corner again, put your 2 treble crochets into that chain corner space. 1 and 2 into that corner. A treble crochet right into the next stitch. Make sure you're going right in to that next stitch. 1 into the next stitch. 1 into the top of the next stitch. And we're at the corner again. 2 treble crochets, 2 chain and 2 treble crochets. That's 1 and 2. Chain 2, 1, 2 and 2 more into that corner space. 1 into the space and 2. So you're going to treble crochet into the next stitch right in there. 1 into the next stitch. 1 into the next stitch. And remember we slip stitch into this space, so you're going into there, into the chain space, your 3rd treble crochet, and then you're going to count 1, 2, 3 stitches and slip stitch and join. and that's you got round 2 done. So in between each corner you've got 7 stitches. So round 3, I'm going to pull my stitch up just a little bit and slip stitch in to there. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Once again, that's the last stitch of that side. So into here we're going to put 2 treble crochets, 1 and 2. We'll finish that corner when we come all the way around, and we'll finish the corner in here. So into the next stitch, you may have to pull those 2 back. You're going to do 1 treble crochet all the way along. We should have 11 stitches now on this round, and this is round 3. 1 treble crochet if you're in the UK, and if you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. 1 into each stitch. You're going to put 2 treble crochets, 2 chain and 2 treble crochets into the corner. That's 1 and 2, chain 2, 1, 2 and 2 more treble crochets into that corner. 1 and 2. Now 1 into each stitch along, and make sure you go into that very first one that's there. Not the spaces. You're not going in the spaces, you're going into the stitch. Into the top of a stitch. One into each one, all the way along. Two trebles, 2 chain and 2 trebles into the corner. 1 and 2, chain 2, 1, 2, and another 2 into that big space. 1 and 2. Then you'll put 1 into each stitch along. Make sure you go into that first stitch there. Make sure you go in there. 1 into each stitch. We should have 11 this time. All the way along you should have 11 on each side once you're finished. So 2 into this corner, 1, 2, chain 2, 1, 2, and 2 into the corner, 1 and 2. Now we're doing the last side. So remember and go into that stitch that's there, and 1 into each stitch. Into there. And we're at the corner, so we've already got 1 for the corner. So we're going into the space here. And then you're going to slip stitch into the 3rd stitch in that chain. And that's your corner complete. And that's your little square starting to work. So you'll start with 3 treble crochets here. Then you'll have 5, 1, 2, 3, no, you'll have 7. You'll start with 3, then your next row you should have 7 in each section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you should have 11. On the third row, you should have 11 stitches from corner to corner. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now row 4, you should have 15 in row 4. So we're going to slip stitch into that chain space again. Just slip stitch in and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That's the last stitch in that side, remember. So into here you're going to put 2 treble crochets. That is 1 treble crochet and 2 chain. So you need 2 treble crochets into the corner. 1 and 2. Now remember, we'll complete the corner when we get around to here. Once we've done our crochet up here, we'll complete the corner by doing a slip stitch into the third stitch in that chain. So you're going to work 1 treble crochet all the way to the end, but remember and go into that little stitch that's there. Make sure you start in this stitch here. And we should have 15 stitches along once you've finished and done your corner. So we're at the corner. We're going to do our 2 treble crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, 1, 2, and put 2 more treble crochets into that chain space. 1 and 2. Now remember and go into that very first stitch that's there and work your way along. When you get to the corner, 2 treble crochet, 2 chain and 2 treble crochet. The same at this corner, 1 treble crochet in each stitch, and when you get to the corner, 2 treble crochet, 2 chain and 2 treble crochet. And we'll work our way down to here, and then I'll show you what to do next. So pause the video and do around your sides till we get to here, and I'll show you how, once again, to finish the round at that slip stitch here. So I'm at the end here. Now don't forget to put 1 into here before you join up here. Make sure you've got your 15 stitches. So you need to go into there to make this corner of your square. Now you're going to count 1, 2 and 3 and slip stitch to close that round. And slip stitch through there, and you should have 15 stitches. Now doing what I've been doing makes your corners all nice and neat, and you don't have any ugly chain joinings in the middle of your granny square. You get a nice neat section on your square. Now you should have 15 stitches now on this row. This is row 4. You should have 15 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and that chain makes 15. Remember to do that treble crochet into that corner before you slip stitch on to that chain. So we're going to slip stitch in to there. Keeps it all nice and neat. Chain 5, this is the last round. If you want to make a great big granny square, just continue doing what I've been doing. And we've already slip stitched into this corner. You're going to do your chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now remember, that is the last stitch of that row there. So into this corner, we're going to do 2 treble crochets. 1 and 2. We should have 19 stitches in each side of round 5. So remember and go into that very first stitch there and put 1 treble crochet into each stitch. And if you're in the USA, that's a double crochets for you. But here in the UK, we call it a treble crochet. It's the same stitch, just a different term. 1 into each stitch. When you get to the corner, you'll do your two treble crochet, 2 chain and 2 treble crochet. All the way along to the corner, 2 treble crochet, 2 chain and 2 treble crochets. All the way to that side and all the way around. And you should have 19 stitches between your corners. Now remember that when you've done your last stitch here, make sure you go into that corner with 1 stitch into that corner. And then you're going to count 3 chain, 1, 2, 3. Push it through. Oops, make sure you go through the stitch. Push through and slip stitch. Now what you're going to do now, we're going to leave a longish tail. So I'm going to show you how to sew these together. So just pull that through, all the way through, and that is going to finish off your granny square like this. Now if yours is not too square and it's a little bit wrinkly, you can spray it with water and put it onto a dry towel and then just put some pins in the corner, a couple down the side and 1 in the corner. But mine's is quite square, it's quite straight, so I'm going to show you how to stitch 2 of them together. So I'll show you how to stitch 2 together to make sure you get that diamond pattern for the blanket. And if it looks kind of odd, just make sure you get it up like that. I'm going to show you how to do it so it keeps the diamond shape in there, so that when you do your next squares, you'll sew them the same way. It keeps that nice diamond shape in this pattern of the blanket. I'll go and get my darning hook. You need a darning needle. And I'll show you how to do 2 of them together. Now this one looks bigger, but it's not. You stick it on the top of there, you can see that it is the same size as that one. Now I'm going to put my darning needle on to this long length that we left. It is a little bit too long, but you can sew more than one of these together. So I'm going to put my yarn through. Now turn it, if you're right-handed, so that your yarn's on this side. Take your other granny square and turn it to the wrong side facing you. On these squares there is a right side and a wrong side, and this is the wrong side. You can see the difference. Nice and neat on this side, and that's the wrong side. And that's the right side of the granny square there, and that is the wrong side. So you're going to put right side and right side, and put that one on the top of it like that. Now, to keep those little diamonds all nice and neat, what we're going to do is, I'm going to turn that so I've got this one on top of that one. So make sure that the back end, the back of your granny square is on the outsides. Move that out of the way. So this is the one I left the tail on. Now what I'm going to do is, in your chain of 2, you've got 2 stitches here, 1 and 2. I'm going to go, take this one, and I've got 2 stitches here, 1 and 2. I'm going into that first stitch there. So I'm in the chain. I'm in one of the stitches in the chain, and just pull my yarn through like that. Now in the chain here, you've got 2 stitches, 1 and 2. So go in to the first chain, the chain in this here. You've got 1 there and 1 there. So you're going to pick up that loop and then pick up that back loop of that stitch and pull your yarn through. And that should have you should have 1 stitch in the chain and 1 stitch in the chain together. So what you're going to do now is the next stitch, you're going to pick up the next stitch through 1 and 2 strands, and your next stitch here on this one, come through that one and pick up that one and push through and just overlap it. Don't pull it too tight. So make sure you know the stitches you've gone through. So you're going to line up your next ones. So go through that one and that one. So in all, you should have 21 little stitches, because remember we use 1 in the chain and there's 19 stitches along, and we'll use 1 from the chain that's on this side, and that is 1 there, 19 there and 1 there. That makes 21. So you should go through 21 times. So we've done that one, we're going through the next one and through the loops of that next one over there, and just pull that up and over. Don't do it too tight. Then through the next stitch. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our 5th one, and this is going to keep it all lined up. If you make sure that you do that, your little triangle in the middle of your blanket will stay nice and neat. It won't be all offset. So into the next stitch and into the corresponding stitch on that side. And what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and just check. So as you can see, they've matched up nice and neat, and it's keeping that diamond shape. That'll all straighten out once we've got it all sewed together. So it's not offset like this. You're not offset like that. You've got your nice diamond shape. Make sure that your corners are together like this, and it keeps that nice diamond in your blanket. So when you join your other squares, your diamond will all match up. And that's what you're going to do to all your squares that you've made. Join them in a line, and then we'll join them together. We'll put all our lines together, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to do my blanket 4 squares long. So I'll continue sewing along here, stitch for stitch. Just remember what stitch you went into. So you're going right through the stitch, just picking up that little arrow part of the stitch. Don't pull it too tight. If you pull it too tight, it'll distort your pattern and it'll distort your square. So I've done all my stitches and I'm at the chain spaces. So one of the stitches in the chain, I'm going to catch that, and I'm going to catch one of the stitches in this chain. I'm not going to do the 2 stitches because when I join my next square, I'll be using that stitch. So in your chain, you're just using 1 stitch from the chain. So now I'm going to check it that it's all nice and symmetrical, and look at that, it keeps it all nice and symmetrical. So make sure that you haven't done your stitches too tight, just give it a little pull, make sure it's not too tight. Don't worry about it looking a little bumpy here, because there's a stitch here that we didn't use and a stitch here we didn't use. There's one in here that we didn't use and one there. But when we put the next squares on, we'll use those stitches and that'll keep your whole blanket all nice and symmetrical. So I've got 2 done. I'm going to add another 2. I'll get all my other squares and I'll have them in lines of 4 granny blocks in each one, and then I'll sew them. I'll show you how to sew them together. And once I've done that, I'm going to go all the way around my blanket with a treble crochet row. So I've got the wrong side, that's the right side and that's the right side, and I'm putting it down that way. Now don't worry about these little corners. They will straighten up once we get them sewed in. So I'm going to come down a little bit with my camera. So you can see that these are still nice. They've got these nice triangles by doing what I showed you how to do this. So this is the wrong side and this is the wrong side. So the right side and the right side. Going to put them down on top of each other and just sew it the same way I did when I showed you how to do that one edge. So remember I showed you how to sew along the one edge. So now we're going to just do the same. I'll get my darning needle and my yarn. I've got some yarn and my darning needle. So this time I'm going to go into the second stitch in the chain. You've got 1, 2, that's that chain space. Now it's absolutely pouring with rain here, so it is a little darker now in the video. And in here, into the second chain space here too, just pick up the stitches in that chain. So you've got your 1, 2 stitches in the chain. And I will put a treble crochet row all the way around this little blanket when I've got it sewn. So I'm just going to come back through that chain. Just so it doesn't come out. Over sew that. Just to catch it so it doesn't come out, and that little end will be on the back end of my little blanket. You won't see it. So now we're going stitch for stitch again. I'll try and get that down a little bit so that you can see this properly. So now we're going stitch for stitch. So it'll be the second stitch in that little chain space. Pick that up and then pick up the second stitch in this side. So you're going right through both sides. Now you can see that a little bit better. And just pull that through. And then I'm going to come over the top and take the next stitch and then go through the V of the other square, so that you've got a little stitch that will go right over the top. Then take the next stitch. Make sure you don't go into that stitch again. Keep it stitch for stitch, and that way your pattern will stay. That way your little triangle will be all nice and neat all the way along. So into there, I'm going to work along to the chain space, and when I get to these chain spaces, we've got one stitch left in each chain space. I'll just match up that chain space stitch with that chain space stitch, and the same on this one. There's one chain space stitch and one stitch in your chain. Make sure you put them together and go through there, and that'll keep the corner section, the crossover section, it'll keep this crossover section here where your blanket crosses over, it'll keep it nice and neat here. So I'll finish sewing on this last line of squares, and as you can see, it's came up nice and neat. I've still got a really nice triangle there in it, and this is the way it is when it's that way. I'll show you it that way as well. Now I've only done 12 squares. I've done them in sets of 4 and sewn them together, but if you want, you can do many more. You can do much more. Just for the video, I did 12. And I'm going to go in to this corner. I'll bring the camera down a little bit more. Now, I have got a light behind me now, and it's kind of giving a shadow. I do apologise for that. But anyway, find the end of my yarn. I'm going to go in to this corner. Leave myself enough yarn to sew the end in. And just pull my yarn through. I'm going to wrap my tail over there and get my working yarn. And I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now just like the square when we did the square, that's going to be the last stitch of this side. So into this corner, just like when we did the squares, I'm going to put 2 treble crochets. That's 1 and 2. Now I'm going to go right into that corner stitch, that very first stitch there, and I'm going to put 1 stitch, 1 UK treble crochet in every stitch along. I'll treat it like a great big square. Some more yarn. I'll work my way along. I'll show you what to do at the joint where the squares are joined. On we go, 1 into each stitch. So I'm at where I've joined my squares. So into that space, I'm just going to do 1 treble crochet. I'm going to push my hook through the join in the stitch. Just push a hook through. Get a decent grip in there. I'm going to put 1 treble crochet in there. So I need to remember and put a stitch in to there. I'm going to put another one into that joint, so that's 2 into the joint. Just push it through there, that joint. I'm going to put 1 into the chain space. one into that very next stitch, there, and work along, one into each stitch, and that's enough to get me across there. So when you get to your next one, make sure you put one into your last stitch, one into the chain space, and put one in. There's a stitch here and the bundle, so make sure you try and get two in there, one into the chain space, and make sure you put one into that little stitch that's there, and work your way along. So when you get to the chain space, one in the chain space, two in this clump here, and one in there, and then make sure you start there and work your way along. All the way to the corner. Now when you get to the corner, treat it the same way as we did for the squares. 2 treble crochet, 2 treble crochet, 2 chain and 2 treble crochet. Then work your way down the side till you get to this corner. 2 treble crochet, 2 chain and 2 treble crochet. Then 1 into each stitch, 1 into the chain space, 2 into that clump, 1 into the chain space, and make sure when you start your next square you go into that stitch that's there all the way along until you get right around your blanket. So I am going, that's what it looks like. I'm going to work my way along all the way around my blanket, and I'll come back and show you what it's like. So I've got all the way around, and what I've done is I've actually done 2 rows of the treble crochets. Now just like that first round, I did my chain of 5, and I'm going to slip stitch to end the round in the 3rd stitch in the chain of 5, and that's what I did on the first round as well. Just slip stitch through, and I'm just going to pull my yarn through. I'll cut it a little bit, don't need all of that. Just pull that right through, and that's my corner finished there. And this, I'm going to zoom, I'll bring the camera up a bit. Now it needs just kind of a little smoothing out, and you can see that the diamond shapes in this pattern, I've kept a pattern, and this is what it looks like. I think I've got it round the wrong way. No, I haven't, that's the right way. And this is what my little blanket looks like. Look at the pattern on that, it is so pretty. And I just edged it with 2 rows of UK treble crochets. If you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. And you can make this as big as you like. Make it as big as you want it. I'm going to turn it that way. And look how it looks on either side. It just doesn't matter. It's just so pretty. And it's just done out of these squares. It's so pretty. So thank you very much for watching. Please give it a try. It's just squares and you sew them together. It's really easy. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. If you haven't subscribed already, just take a few minutes, click on that subscribe button, and it's an easy little process just to follow through to subscribe to the channel, and it's free. It's completely free to subscribe to the channel, and give this a try. Give it a try. It is so pretty, and it's just made out of these squares. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.